Good evening, good morning, and good afternoon. It's really with Spirit of Matter, and I want to talk about the upcoming lunation. Now, we're past eclipse season, we're still in the shade, so a lot of the things that accompany us are still like from the eclipses, even from the solar eclipse in April. But we are also approaching a lunation that is quite intense. It's not an eclipse intense, but it is basically the full moon in Aries, which is going to be when the moon conjuncting Aries and the sun conjuncting Spica in Libra. So 24 Aries and 24 Libra. And I'm going to break to you down the planetary skies. I'm going to put a chart in the caption. And then I'm going to begin to talk about it. So basically we have T square with Mars 22 degrees Cancer on the full moon on that day. If you watch my channel and you watch Nikola Stojanovic, then you know 22nd degree is a lethal, intentional killing degree. So we have a full moon around that. And we have the Mars applying to anaretic degree Pluto, 29 degree Pluto in Capricorn, with Venus sextiling Pluto from the anaretic degree of Scorpio. So this is going to be very intense because we have a sort of a square in the sky already building up that is a lot of tension. We have a little action-oriented Mars ruling the lunation and in the sign of the moon. And we have Venus sextiling Pluto. So first of all, I already ahead of time call on Procyon, Andromeda, and the Spica, invite to sweeten in conflict, to reconcile that which is the marginalized in society, that which is difficult to reconcile, and to have fairness and justice. And when I first thought about how to call this lunation, I said of marginalized people and the marginalized prophets. Okay, so margin people, margin prophets. And I think a lot of who are the marginalized people in society are going to be exposed. And I didn't think about it, but I'm going to begin with family story. One of my parents, their color is of the grandparent who came from Ukraine and Jewish Holocaust survivor, came from Ukraine, but because of their color, they were actually receiving a lot of hatred because everybody thought they're white supremacists. So they thought maybe the rich, and my name is Dutch, which I guess stirred up more stuff. And if that's not enough, I have a surname that has the word blood in it. So even when people begin to awaken for like conspiracy stuff, it's not conspiracy and so on, satanic ritual abuse, they might think, okay, and I'm like, I grew up with my mom, but this is where the marginalized can be hidden. Okay. Now another thing, the makler that I live by in Israel, he has 100 properties. He told me, it's not a secret, but apparently with so stressed for money, it can be that there's something problematic with the marginalized prophet. That when I say, okay, you said this, you pay for this, maybe he cannot pay. So, as we approach the lunation in Aries, we understand that the marginalized in society is not always who we think the marginalized is. Okay? or you're thinking you got the Jungbloods by their blood, while the Jungbloods are working against satanic ritual abuse. Okay? Or you think you got yourself, you think this person is Jezebel's spirit, she's just trying to get all this astral dumb fuckery out of her 12th house. Okay? And so there's something about this donation, because you can look at it as from a humoristic point of view, because I got Mercury in Aries, and it's right next to my Mercury. And Mercury is humor. But you understand that with Aries in Aries, everybody is marginalized right now. Okay? I said this is going to be the time where everybody's right. Everybody is right. Everybody's tired. Everybody's exhausted. Everybody survived horrors. Everybody have a point to them, okay? Everybody overwhelmed so much so that they cannot contain for another thing, okay? It is all orchestrated as well, but also not predicted, okay? So the moon next to the planet that represents that which was so outcast from society that just want to talk chaos, now represents the people. Everybody's so exhausted, they just want to move the energy around. and it's not that they don't care anymore, but they're so overwhelmed that it's very difficult for people to see one another. And if they do, they see it from, I'm the marginalized here. Okay? Okay? Go confront the Moroccan when you're a Jungblood that they thinking you're a fucking Jezebel spirit. That's why they ask you if you sleep with your mom. And you're activist against satanic ritual abuse because you're aware of it, right? Because you're half Dutch and you're half Israeli and a part of your family, have been affected by it whether you know it or not. Then go confront the Moroccan who's like, I'm the marginalized here. I barely have margin profit. We were like, I'm a woman. I'm a woman. How you guys treat women? If you treated women well. Thank God you're not South African, because I would say apartheid. Everybody is, and this is also the moon nakshatra that has to do, I think this is Ashvini. I don't know for the nakshatra name. Yes, Ashvini. I'm not sure if it's Ashvini, but this is nakshatra that's associated with 1,000 doctors. Okay? This is where everybody has their own kind of, could be even healing abilities, but they comprise for their own medicine. Okay? So it's great. It's an nakshatra that includes Andromeda. There is great potential for reconciliation, but because it's with Aries, people are going to have to get out of their, tiny little cold, indoctrinated brains and see that everybody now is marginalized in different way, okay? And you could even have, did you know, for example, both leader, I talked about Netherlands, both leaders maybe going to be prime minister in Netherlands, Geert Wilders, and head of NATO, living prime minister, not the spy minister that was in between. Would say, but surely they are all spies. I know, but that one they said he was a spy. I found another chart of the Netherlands with 19 degrees Cancer ascendant. I would need to discuss this chart, but I'm still processing. You can watch it. When I did the episode on Belgium, I showed you for the channel that they have now another episode, but the Netherlands. Apparently Netherlands is even a bigger rabbit hole than Brussels. But what I said, head of NATO and maybe next Prime Minister of Netherlands have moon on the nakshatra Ashvini. I'm not sure for Wilders, for Rutte we have birth time, so it's the same phase of Aries. So you could think, oh, but this person, they are elite, they are leaders, they are blue blood, reptiles, they are this, they are that. They have the moon in this nakshatra. Now it's next to Aries. Aries crossing this moon. They're marginalized in some way. It's gonna be very intriguing for you to find out how. If you've been listening to my channel, you already know a lot and still not everything. But this is going to be a moon where we're going to discover that the marginalized in society is but completely not what we thought. Okay? And then we have the ruler Mars squaring this donation on the 22nd degree of Cancer. So discussion about, unfortunately, murder to do with housing, real estate, also genocide, because it's murder of people. I'm not saying this is going to happen, genocide, but it's discussion about genocide. Two things I discovered in past time. One very recent, I was like, well, head of NATO has 12th house Leo, state of Israel has 3 planets there. Okay, he has ascended in 12th house of Israel, but 3 planets there, and 12th house is kind of like the hidden. Okay, and the funny thing is, Sol in my 12th house, I'm still processing since they made the reading. So it's been a 12th house industry discourse. But on a mundane level, it just means that the state of Israel, unfortunately, can operate him in certain way. While everybody mad because 7th October, who Bibi called, Benjamin Netanyahu called Rutte. And people like they're big mad why he calls Rutte. Okay, we don't know why he calls Rutte. We know that Israel has 3 planets in Rutte's 12th house. So they can try to maneuver around. Okay? It's not necessarily on purpose, by the way, because 12th house is more like when you're in somebody's 12th house, Jewel, who is aspect in my God, this should be an episode of its own. Jewel, Truth in Aspect Astrology, which she talked about sun in somebody's 12th house. She says it's like a person in somebody's attic. And then you're in somebody's attic, you move things around, and so what do people put in the attic? Well, that stuff that they don't even know it's there. Okay? I don't have anything in Leo. But the thing is that it's not necessarily even by intention. So when you have 12th house synastry, you need to have time to process things, because that can be an overwhelm. I had a good friend for 10 years, Saturn Sun in 12th house, and it was very, very difficult, but indeed there was a lot of emotional growth. Okay, then came COVID, and after many, many crises, yes, but that was not simple, And I think I had stellium in his 12th house. I had for the Mars, okay, Saturn, Mars, and Pluto. Okay, but so it's not like somebody was doing something intentionally necessarily to maneuver, but it's like, hey, you see what's in the attic, which means you have to have good intention with that. So this type of conversation is going to expose a lot of things, a lot of information, where who is the marginalized. And with Mars, when we talk about genocide, when we talk about real estate cartels, okay, I'm not talking about 100 properties, I'm talking about something way bigger, when we're talking about murder as a result of real estate wars, who is the marginalized, when we talk about even restaurants. Unfortunately, shootings at restaurants can be for places that are susceptible to such things, like Israel. When we talk about yes, so there is lethality, okay, in that way, and killing of mothers, and so on, like a really very, very deep conversation between this Mars that squares the moon. And this is exactly what Victor Vasco Victor would call the mutual deception, because not because it's deceiving, it's actually quite upfront, but because the moon is in Mars sign. Okay, it's not fallen in Mars sign, it's Aries, but the Mars is in the moon sign. This is fallen. Why is Mars fallen in Cancer? Because Cancer is ruled by the moon. It's where we have a good food, good nourishment, where we go for a hug, okay? And Mars is invasive, it is assertive, it is action-oriented, okay? And having the moon in Mars sign, if it is Aries, it's not that terrible. It means that the person can have, they can be emotionally prone to be active. So they self-care with taking action around something. But then with the action, with Mars, it can be quite disruptive, destructive, and impulsive, but also explosive in a way. And the action can be lethal. So the moon in Aries is pushing us to assert ourselves and to take action. The Mars can make this action lethal. And so there is, on the one hand, exposure of who is the marginalized, and of what the other side is speaking, what is the marginalized profit from restaurants, real estate, drug cartels. I don't understand so much the drugs here, because this is Saturn. Oh, Saturn is ruling Pluto, and Saturn is in Pisces. I guess that's the thing. And who is the marginalized? For example, if you think about Supreme Court judge that puts drug cartel lord for murder of children or pedophilia instead of himself, you would think this is the big giant devil. But you don't know that he's also intelligent. He grew up into this cult, and it was decided for him that it's going to be this kind of, I don't know, Epstein-like person. This is going to be his job, and this is what he has to do, and is not provided possibility to death. Okay? Ministry of Law is also responsible for death with dignity requests. So, and now you're like, okay, with these people tortured since birth, and it's like, okay, the rabbit hole is really giant, and then there is this lethal Mars that's like, I'm gonna slaughter, because you come with the gun, I'm gonna slaughter whoever did that to my children. It's like it's like the rabbit hole is deep. Watch Trudy, Mama versus Mafia. She exposes the entire thing. Trudy Verstegen. And this is centuries old. So Mars wants to take one decisive action and to kill the whatever is causing unsafety, okay? And what motivates Mars at this point is a sense of being marginalized or a sense of throwing chaos. So everybody's big mad. And everybody wants to set boundaries, since we already had the eclipse in Libra where we say we're not people pleasing anymore. And so we have to remember that everyone is not people pleasing anymore, and everyone awakens on this full moon to where the marginalized is in for their chart. Wherever Aries is in your chart is where you can experience both being marginalized and having other people being the marginalized. So for example, if it's first house, that could be you. If it is eighth house, can be your investments, can be a partner, but can also be something that you feel because of a partner. Yes, what? No, I need it right now. And so if this is a 12th house, okay, can be because of something mental that you're going through that's not seen, it's not visible, it's not acknowledged. Think about the war veterans. How much time did it take to acknowledge CPTSD and PTSD? Well, it took so much time because it was considered feminine to have this crisis, and it was considered, and a lot of people don't even know this. And so this is the way, again, the way you treat women, essentially it's like, okay, that's what's up. It's the way you treat whatever you see is feminine inside you. And we all have something to heal around that, whether it's feminine, masculine, or whatnot. So there's one way to deal with that, and then some people say, well, no gender, okay, whatever. But the way you treat that is basically has implications. And if this is, let's say, fourth house, this could be your own housing, okay? That can mean you might feel marginalized with something to do with the housing, the upbringing. So you could be living in a mansion, okay? But if you are, and this is also on Andromeda, so you could be kidnapped into this mansion, going through invisible violence. And that pertains to our leaders, that pertains to all the people we say are elite, as much as it pertains to just the common person. So, and these things that you don't normally think about it before. I know people, before they had trauma, they were like, not I was aware from a very young age, but people that were before me, they were like, I didn't know what stress is. Until it happened to me, I didn't know what stress is. Then something happened, maybe something burst on the skin, maybe this, maybe that. And everybody has their triggers. And now with 12th house conversations, and you're going to have a lot of them because it's a mundane thing, and everything they try to do globally, they try to infiltrate the countries through the 12th house and the 8th house. The funding through the 8th, so they try to do financial violence through the 8th. Now, it's very much of the combat of marginalized people, a marginalized profit. And so Mars is also the name. And Cancer is family. So family name, okay? You think about this. And it's a conversation. Right? It's a conversation. And so, yes, you know, if you think about, I don't know, I'm not going to, every shoe I can drop on someone, so I'm afraid to drop the other shoe. So, and this is situation because you have, let's say, one common, white name, and then you have one name is from, I don't know, North Africa or wherever, or South Africa, and you think you got the equation, but this is going to test our veil of ignorance a lot. Or you think, well, this person, they got 100 estates, and then they try to human traffic, this what's happening, someone blackmailing them, well, whoever blackmailing them, not going to leave them alive, because we know how the cult works, right? And then that person can say, well, have marginalized profits not enough, because indeed they are extorted, and they don't even get for the profit, or maybe because of trauma they have some addiction, okay? I had a case like this. I was working for a company, I'm not going to say the name of company, family company. And I asked for a raise because there was inflation. And I said, make good job, you're satisfied with me, okay? Sensitive to the time, the changing and so on. I said, okay, well, it's time for me to ask for a raise. I said, you are a great employee, you are doing a great job, but I cannot afford for this deal. And later I was told by a colleague that he indeed could not afford because he had addiction, okay? And it's very likely was intelligence, was a very big person, but when they walked, you couldn't see them. So the couple of people like this I saw in my life at workplaces, there's so many intelligent people around there. And you don't connect the dots, but for these people, they live life secret, so they have a lot of addictions, okay? And they can go gambling and so on. So now they got a problem with the marginalized profit, okay? But if they try to do so that they oppress, okay, for someone, and then the house inside someone's own being, someone's own body, spirit, or in matter and energy is violated, what they're gonna do? Then you have another person with a timestamp of violation walking around, okay? And now Libra said we're not people pleasing anymore. So this is where this Mars that is ruling over for the marginalized can take action that is lethal, okay? But Spica is also exposing for the scale of trade and the scale of justice. The scale of trade and the scale of justice. And so this is where when there is and the dangerous thing is because there is a square with Pluto, there are certain hidden factors, and they have to do with the cult, with the satanic cult. I tell you that because Pluto is in Saturn sign, and the Saturn of the pyramid, and Saturn is in the sign of medicine, okay? So, but also organized crime, drug cartels. So there's something hidden around this topic. This is a very potentially lethal lunation. And now you think about this person that was intelligent about this, and then you think, let's say, a woman whose life was threatened, so she escaped violence, and she said, I want to live, yes, in a place. And then in that place, where I pay extra money, so not to be assaulted, so not to be harassed, so not to be this, so I can walk safe, so I can this, so I can that. Because I already lived in horrid places where even when I went to a psychologist private, he didn't believe me. I'm not talking about it. He didn't believe me. Yes, those are true stories. Because I lived in a crime neighborhood, where every other place is basically, it's not a brothel, but it's human trafficking. And so they didn't understand for what I'm even going through, or they pretended to not to. And that person carries a white name. Why? Because they said a no to the rape of the cult. Yeah, this collision, and they said, what do I have to do as woman? To murder? Do I have to murder? Because murderers, they receive, say, oh, this person became commander in Givati, this person became this person became that. But when it's my blood spilled, nobody cares. For the other person would say, well, it's my blood spilled somewhere, okay, nobody cares, okay? So this is a conversation, I'm saying, is a lot of tension. There is Spica, which is scale of justice. There is Andromeda, which is about releasing hostages. Everybody talks in Israel about the hostage. Bring them home, bring Ruth Chomp's children home. We have, let's do bingo bunkers again. Let's do bingo caves again, where they hold the children and do satanic ritual abuse. Okay, so it's at least every emergency center for children, every welfare center, every shelter for women, every shelter for men, every shelter for homeless. Not that there are a lot of them, people escape them. Every hospital, mental or not, army bases, okay, Kiryah, who knows if not Israeli, all of these things underneath, very likely, yes, escape. So, but what about we the people, okay, if we want to release hostages? If we the people started to do in that Mars, for there, all the bring them home, they would have to do distractions, they would have to distract the public things. So they say, oh, we have a deal. Bring in all of the people back, they will revive them from the dead, just for people to calm down a bit, which they won't, but because they'll see what's in there. So this is also Andromeda. This is also the way Andromeda Mars can work. And as you see, nobody is people pleasing anymore. Nobody's politically correct anymore. And everybody has the fuck it. But there's also things revealing themselves. For this Mars is on taking lethal action, confrontation towards this plutocracy. And so everybody messed up. Everybody's messed up. Everybody's life messed up. It could be the person you think they have money from here until there, and they post pictures, or they post this, or they go on a yacht, or the this, or the that. But they can be in debts. They can be a step away from jail. They can be like so many things. Where it's like, what is the image? Sun is fallen in Libra for a reason, because Libra cares so much about the image, and sometimes it's great art, great aesthetics, and even grace and justice. That being said, Libra is exactly Beyonce looking $1 million, while okay? So it has its pros and cons. And the attempt to balance the scales, okay, we have to let go of how we used to balance the scales. Okay, and what we are purging is Lilith on Vendia metrics. So there's some sort of a view changing about, yes, Lilith. So I said people who used to think Lilith is this Jezebel spirit, this succubus, incubus, I don't know. Okay, so they are met with the Lilith that says, I want equity. If woman alone cannot live safe and free, it means all the children here are born from rape. Because if she cannot live alone safely, that she has to pay extra money, and live in the best estate in the neighborhood just so she won't be colliding with the souls. Okay, it's not like she's looking for a bigger house. She's just looking for a place where she won't be harassed, because even the psychologist won't believe her, because his colleagues are living in places where women not harassed. In those neighborhoods, not as much. Maybe they are MK Ultra, but they don't remember anything until it bursts out. Okay? And so, but what happens is people can say, okay, but this is the code. We got them. This is the code. But that person has been trying to warn everybody that like they're going to get to the cold people. We gotta give people the right to exit violence, because they're born into this inbreeding incest tribes. Okay, so now everybody mad because Mars has a good chance of confronting, even lethally, the plutocracy, but there's something to do with the marginalized here that needs to be balanced, but the marginalized is in opposition to speaker. There's a lot of intricacy. And I would say, how do you get out of this eternally alchemizing thing? Well, what we got to do for help, we got Venus sextile in Pluto. Venus is in Mars sign and she's sextile in Pluto. Okay? So, remember when Venus was squaring Pluto? Or was it the moon? No, it was the moon. But we began with the Venus squaring Pluto, and the Venus squaring Pluto was so powerful. Okay, I began to work on Essence of Desire there, and then I blew up the entire city. I told you about the Blue Lotus that I ordered for Essence of Desires, the perfume that I'm making for second season of Water Expands Upon Cooling. Is about missing people. And I want to have anchoring in the body, okay? Because I've used my second decan of Taurus Sun, the place of evolution, and to calm the spirits. And then after things exploded with the real estate, I come, okay, with my parents, so that I'm not alone to my own, the place that I rent, okay? And I see the Lotus is arriving, but the number 17 on the package, and 17 is number of Lilith. So there's just a lot going on, and now Venus is going to be sextile in Pluto, but she's going to be sextile in Pluto from the end of Scorpio. Again, last degree of Scorpio is degree where we can have nostalgia, we can reminisce about the past, and this sextile is ruling over the Sun, and Venus is ruled by Mars. So Venus and Pluto have perhaps the power to alchemize all these tensions. Okay? This is when I think a thought and then I think a thought about one person and then another person is in my energy laughing. So, yes, Aquarius 12th house and telepathy. We should have a discourse dedicated to that. And so, or 8th house for those people that it's 8th house. But 12th house is just like from far away places and so on. Remote conversing. So you see, this full moon is the alchemical fire, but it's really a situation where everybody mad, everybody right, and the thing is that everybody has a stigma of justice. You'll see it with speaker that they're very eloquent about, but is opposed. There's a tension between the marginalized. For example, not all think about satanic ritual abuse, but also think about MK Ultra. This is another form of kidnapping, which sometimes is not through the physical even. Okay? So and that is a conversation. Okay? So some people don't even get it. Some people get it, but they think they're going to play to this and to that. And there is this, with this degree of Libra, there's also this have to take an extremist action. Right? And everybody, since the new moon lunar eclipse in Libra, everybody had enough. The straw that broke the camel's back, everybody had enough. So, how will Venus and Pluto alchemize this? Is question. Because it seems like everything that speaker will offer can set off the vein pops of somebody, and people might provoke, because Mars Cancer can be provocative. Okay, it can say something really nasty. It can say something really nasty. As well, because it's like, hey, everything is kind of like, can't do it anymore, enough is enough, and people might fear for their lives. Okay, everyone involved might fear for their lives. So the woman that was marginalized would fear for her life. You say, what do I have to do? Do I have to murder? And then she may talk to war veteran. Everybody, flying off the handle. And the plutocrat is a drug cartel. And you know the Tom Waits song, the piano has been drinking. I remember when there was the war in Gaza, and there was the picture of the IDF soldiers wearing women clothing. Is another one, this cultist ceremonies that were, and this is not the IDF, it's the global Muslim Brotherhood of Satan that runs in Brussels, okay? With the people with the green eyes. Like they were breeding incestually, but then they ran out of sperm. So they had to get people from other bloodstreams too. From other places to do that, okay? Everybody had enough. And if you're not up to speed with all the supposed conspiracy theories, then it's going to be very difficult to navigate these things, because you come with a paradigm where you don't know that the Muslim Brotherhood of Satan wore green Adidas to threaten a right-wing Dutch leader that also grew up in the cult and wears was filmed wearing kippah or something by a bank that costs dividends to the Vatican, then you're not with it. Okay, if you don't understand Milton, Hurricane Milton Friedman, I'm like, the stuff that I see, and then like you try to connect the names. Like, did you come up with that? Was that your idea? And now the funny thing is that the city where I live, it's a village, but it's a city, and that sits on the right at the place where if there is every 100 years or so, there's big giant earthquake. The last one giant earthquake was about 100 years ago. I'm not saying anything's gonna happen. I'm not saying anything's not gonna happen, and it's going to be very stupid to fight about real estate. and the thing is, but what I gotta tell you, it's a 40 years old estate, very beautiful place. I wouldn't even think about looking for such a state, but I was so much searching that I said, next property I see, I just go there and I live there because I cannot anymore. And it was good, relatively good election, and that was the place. And I said, I cannot anymore with this moving here, moving there. And when you're homeless, you try to manifest the house. People think you're running after the estate. No, I was just trying to sleep a place where it's safe for me to sleep. That's what's up, okay? I was looking for a home inside me and in my surroundings. That's what's up. So, but there's very funny things, and it's culmination to, it's still a culmination to the cycle of eclipses where we had Ra in Aries. Because we're done with them. I want a wide round of applause. We're done with the first half of the breaking of the Third World War. We're done with that. You know what? I have a thing that I tend to lose it's not lose because it's like they needed to change for the estate or something changed around the real estate. Around the last eclipse on the topic. And the funny thing, I was given a reading for my mama, and I said, Mama, you have a change in the real estate. And she said, I can't move. And I said, but I see it changed, something changed. Start imagining what you want. And eventually it happened to me. So, I don't know, you have to surrender things. Neptune would be coming to my second house where that ruler is. So we're definitely going to see something. I don't think it's going to be like an earthquake, but if we saw Hurricane Milton, you know, that the awareness that I have right now, hard aspects to Mars and Moon. This is a roll call. Where Where's that being that told me when I was at the airport, I don't want to sleep outside. I don't want to sleep outside. Okay? And then said, fuck it. That's literally acting against your housing, man. Okay? I have Mars opposing Sun. It's and from Scorpio, okay? I only want peace and then I take action. In Scorpionic action. 22 degrees Mars in Scorpio retrograde. So, this is going to be one full moon that is going to feel a little bit like an eclipse. It's culminating the entire eclipse series. It is going to feel like an eclipse. You want to see what the houses are involved. Because Saturn rules Pluto, loss can happen. But it's going to be in a very weird way. For example, I talked about, hurricane. Imagine this thing, where was the Milton Friedman thingy happening? Okay, imagine two people arguing about this, about that, then comes the hurricane. Fuck all of y'all. Okay? Person meets a homeless in the street. Go get a job. Homeless says, that never yielded a housing. You say, why? I worked all my life. I have this house. Go do something with your life. Then comes Milton. Any heads of anything that don't want to sleep in bunkers. Get yourself a friend, not like me, have the opposite. Get yourself a friend that when you say, fuck it, it's going to suit you down a little bit. Because none of us want to sleep in a bunker in Albania. But the thing is that the fatedness of the events is just going to be there. Okay? It's both the involvement of Pluto and just the fact of sonation, right? But squaring Pluto, the Mars thingy. Okay, Mars is already. Mars is Marsing, okay? And I think there are a lot of astrologers that are to various degrees of low key are concerned that there might be a war. And so, but at the same time, there's so many people like, well, where are we to go? I think the safest place would be to try to look for these caves. Because of those people that do these ceremonies, if anybody comes and say, you see these guys sent you there, this is what they do to the babies to let them get kissed like that. But bring black coffee with you, because it calms people down. So, and the thing is that because it touches everybody's sore spots, it's kind of like somebody tries to reconcile something, and then speaker says, but this is not just, it's not correct, it's not, okay? And it's still Mars-Venus opposition, because Mars is where the moon is, and for the emotional safety, Mars, okay, is want to take a certain action, and what the Sun wants is validation. Spica is ruled by Venus. Venus is planet for validation, for value, to acknowledge for value. Okay, so the way that this is playing out, my God, okay? And the mindsets people come with for this type of collision is such that people have been offering for the value that they have to offer, but is not perceived by the other as this value. Okay, for example, if you think about, let's offer the most beautiful house to this person and then try to get for them to be a fair, but they have this paradise house, they have this, they have that, they think they're having an affair with someone. Okay, for the other person is so hung up on escaping violence that are like, how can I be, I'm not talking about affair, I cannot be with person that they're not respecting for my sexual boundaries. And if I'm dependent financially, then what happens? I cannot say no, so cannot, okay? And I'm not talking about affairs, I'm talking about even situations where people are not affairs. It's all the same collision as we had in 2017 with the Me Too. One person is thinking, oh, I'm offering the best of money, the best of this, the best of that. It's like this and that. Why don't they want to be with me? It's like, have you considered the fact that they are not having ability to even be alive without being dependent on living in a property which you own? So think about how the tipping of the scales. And now we are in a global situation with this global intelligence, everybody making maneuvers, especially about the state. So everybody, oh, you tell them, they like you, they like this, they like that, go there, go try this. Now they sometimes messing with your spirit, because sometimes they know for this person they went out of Me Too. she gonna blow this entire place out. He doesn't know what's expected. And they fumble with two people like this till one person explodes. Okay? For the other person, they are thinking, oh, they are going to have this affair with this Jezebel spirit. Don't be a sucker, don't be this, don't be that. Okay. Then you run the fuck out of there. You stay at the airport when you're hungry, you're buying a meal in McDonald's. And you're like, fuck it. Let them pay the rent. Okay? That's the type of scenarios. But it's not going to be only funny and humorous. because there's some giant catharsis into the situation. Remember, this is a full moon on Andromeda conjuncting Chiron, which is sextiled by retrograde Jupiter still. Okay, so Jupiter is like I have healing of my ability to get out of imprisonment, jail, entrapment. Okay? And Mars is on the degree of murder. Okay. So this is a situation where and every action that is taken is squaring the moon. I can feel the stress. I can feel the drama. I can feel the stress. Oh my God. So, wow. It's those things. But yes, it's a grand cross. And everybody is crossed. Remember when I said crossover or crossover? So this is it's just one of these now, but Venus is going to be sextiling Pluto. That's the thing. That Venus and Pluto are going to be buddies. Like I'm going, we rely on them to alchemize the thing. Now, where's the ruler of Pluto? I don't know, psychedelics or something. Art, storytelling. It's Saturn. So that's one giant lunation. Even if we don't look at asteroids other than the planet Aries and Chiron, been insistent about this. But even if we don't look at any asteroids, and yeah, we look at Spica, then we see this is all tensions paramount. But Venus is cool with Pluto. And Venus is scorpionic. Okay? It is the Venus that is ready to transform. Still, there is a lot of challenges to contain for all these tensions because everybody's fed up already. There's also humorous transitions. To write like humorous stories that where somebody is a killer, that can be. But I'm not going to lie to you. This is a situation where for that Mars can be in a mall, can be in a restaurant, can be in your house or housing as well, and you want to a bit listen to intuition, because for such things when they happen, sometimes I'll tell you a story. In Israel we had a famous story about a person that was standing waiting for the bus. They were going towards the bus station and the bus left. It didn't wait for them. And they started getting mad. Why? And this and that. A couple of meters the bus drives and there's a bombing inside bus. We may have such a situation. So I tell you, don't go overboard with fighting about anything. Okay? I have to say that day where We had the car that wanted to bomb Israeli. One car with plenty bombs doesn't take it down the twin towers, but they wanted to do some serious damage, and you prefer not to be around when that happens. You know, who knows? Maybe they would accidentally open the cave where they find out all the satanic ritual abuse babies are kidnapped. Like to let that out of the cave and so on. But the thing is that I was supposed to go there. And not only my mother gave me to want these puzzles that you solve to protect the brain, okay? So this thing, so I was saying I'm going to go there or to the airport and then buy this, but something told me not to be around where plenty people are. She just made walked a little around, and I said no, I didn't go there, and my parents were like, thanks God you're here. So, you know, I talk sometimes about 9/11. I could be there, you know. And then there is this good thing, bad thing, who knows? And so we might have such event. I would recommend, if possible, to let go, not to fight for too much. And especially anybody that tries to press for anybody, for right now, it's time to begin to let go, because tensions are going to build up, and we're going to have funny stories, and they're going to be fated stories, just like this person's running for the bus. I'll try to remember this myself, because the energies are just building. Running for the bus doesn't wait for him. He's like big mad, and then a couple of meters, and then it's boom. Milton. Okay, you know what? Not even gonna say that. But this is exactly the type of things that can happen, okay? It's the type of movies where you think you have like a war or invasion of this or that, and there's like a huge giant earthquake or something. So this is when people want to say, oh, maybe will this be catharsis? I wouldn't count on that. The tensions are not building to release necessarily, they're just building. And Venus is harmonizing with Pluto now. Again, I remind you, Pluto is an A-bomb. And I've been talking about the A-bombs that don't leave margins for a while now, because the problem with A-bombs is the margins. And yes, the entire topic of satanic ritual abuse and the caves, I found out about the caves when I was retreating to the airport after the whole thing exploded with the apartment and stuff. And this is really where, as much as you can, you want to try and just let go, because it seems like all of our pressure points are being pressed, in the sense that whether what our values are, somebody says something, or the behavior of people, and for some cases it's calling for forgiveness, because it's really not necessarily this kind of like person. Think about the person in your 12th acting against themselves. Not because they're trying to act against you, okay? It's just like they're just being themselves, and then there's just like, but they have this pattern where sometimes they have a collision. between their action and their safety. And they motivate you to have a little bit of rebellion. So, again, it's not they're doing something on purpose to you, but it's coming at your 12th house, so you're not really seeing what's going on, but you feel the energy. It's like, fuck it. And also, it's not, how should I say it? It's not necessarily that they were wrong about this. So, if I think about my own story, okay, with the apartment, then what happened is I spoke up for 3 years. You sold the city to all these cults that practice satanic ritual abuse. You need to take the children out of the caves. They're gonna need houses. All these drug cartels again. Of course, there are drug cartels, but you know these housing cartels or the drug cartels that try to become real estate cartels, because WHO kicked the drug cartels. Now I get it. It's like if they were branching into real estate before, because real estate, as you see, they say real estate is a rodeo, but this is exactly why, because you have these giant forces doing a Milton to get over an entire city. So go and buy a house, right? And then with the drug cartels, they have no choice, so they say, well, Milton Friedman, it was an economist that told, I think Milton Friedman was the guy that said, don't listen to the weather of the markets because it doesn't listen to your mood. I'm so curious to think, as to wonder if this is the person that they think that is there. It is in no way funny, but neither is what happened to me, and definitely not what happened to them. Or what they did. So, life be like Rick and Milton. This is that's satirical. That's creative, yes. Anyway. This is a very, very weird situation, but you have to understand that that is exactly the weirdness we're venturing into. So, I guess all the signs that I should get the fuck out of that region were there, but it's like I have no idea where to. Like all that, like, really. And so everybody's like, yeah, without those things, without these things, and so on. And but then Venus Pluto can agree, for example, about something atomic. Because something atomic, you know, all the people that are the situation like the children and so on, they're like a tickling A-bomb. But the problem with A-bomb is the margins, so they might want something. Yeah, this is the square between Aries and Pluto still. Because an A-bomb will have a margins, and then we still get the marginalized suffering. We definitely ventured into the era where everyone is marginalized in some way. And if they weren't until yesterday, then by this lunation they will be. And so, but it's not like the tipping of the scales, because people, Aries is not in Libra. It's not like, oh, you were in this situation or that. It's not like something is being balanced in that way necessarily. But for other parts, something is being balanced. It's kind of like, oh, there are women rights, but what about marginalized women that don't enjoy that? Or they're like, the Moroccans and the Dutch agree, but what about women? Okay. Um, or yeah, I think topic of death with dignity is also going to be on the rise. Um, we are an inch from November 19, where Pluto ingresses to Aquarius. So this is where the power shifts from the plutocracy to what's supposed to be with the people, what's supposed to be the not the outcast, but those people that are like farthest from the sun. However, we may find out that it's just another point of view about what we thought was the sun. So we have empires falling, but then you remember that those people that are MK Ultra also grew up into this torture cults. So just the rabbit hole is just so deep that people don't really know what's marginalized anymore. Now some people have been living an entire life like this, or some people that never saw themselves as marginalized. Like I, for example, did not see myself as this marginalized when I was working in the village or this that was living my life. And not, living my life or minding my business, okay? Until one sudden day, my landlord asks if I sleep with my mom. And I ignore that, because I don't know what to do with that. I say, first of all, sign the contract, later. I don't know what to do. And then it tries to infiltrate my energy. You understood something, blew the whole damn thing out. That was the Libra eclipse. Try to get into my energy. Try to get what's in my energy. I would say Geneva, but now this says Brussels. I don't know. I don't know, okay? And so they get a fuck no. They're thinking, why? Okay, so this is where 40 years of trying to make it in this life and either have like death with dignity or just live, it's like an H-bomb. And I was at the airport writing about the Twin Towers. Okay. What did you think would happen? Oh my God, at 9/11. And you see, you have to understand this. What's beautiful about the skies right now is that even if you plan this, you couldn't plan this like this. You could plan Hurricane Milton. And the number of screenwriters would take to write every scene, even artificial intelligence would not compound. And there is a technology. So this is where you have to understand that even when people try to interfere in energy, even when this, even when that, sometimes, first of all, people don't necessarily come to harm you. They're like, you live in this place, what you doing there? It's Ekveld, what you doing there? Okay, what do you want me to do? And then they try to nudge you. They're like, I'm not talking with you, you're toxic, you're this. Okay. But for the other thing, even if people plan for to harm you, it goes other way around. So this is where I remember a conversation around COVID where I told my ex-bestie then, I said, sometimes people are like natural disasters. What I didn't know yet was that it's a tautology and it works for the other direction that I had intended it to be. I think I know some natural disasters. Walking amongst us in energy. Okay, there's some shamanistic people that are controlling the weather, and then there's some people, shamanistic or not, it says, let's do a Milton hurricane. But the genius is don't listen to the weather of the markets because they don't listen to your weather. And I'm not even sure it was Milton Friedman that said that. But you can see the economy timeline. People thinking, I'll just invest more. Yeah, they changed the currency. How did Jack Wright said there are currencies that are hidden. So they trade in hidden currencies. We're not even running on the same economy. But it's not like they can trust the currency because they can change for the hidden currency as well. Everybody knows that. But the people that you see alive, they have been 4, 5, 6 decades alive in this economy. So that is but it's true. I'm giving credit. And then there are the people who just felt it. Okay, when I talked earlier this morning, I said a couple of years ago, it's not going to be for the internet, not going to be for electricity, not going to be. And then what did I say? With the currency, not going to be. Was the same. And I knew, I felt it. I was tuned to Uranus, I guess. And then, like, nobody understands you. Nobody understands you. And then you just think about it, you download this, maybe with your friends or something, then you go about your life, and then you have to decide, okay, what will you purchase. Now, another thing that can happen with this lunation is you understood some little, oh my god, this is so given, man. It's given 9/11 because, but it's not like, yes, it's given 9/11. I don't know on what, but something with trade. Okay. So, and it's 22nd degree. It's not like 11th degree, I would say airports and such, but this is, and I'm not saying necessarily successful, not successful. Can be attempt, but my God, it's given 9/11. True? Because Mars on a 22nd degree opposing Pluto. We have, yeah, line to oppose Pluto from Cancer, Moon Ashvini. Well, my Ashvini moons there, protect yourself, okay? Ashvini moons. Ashvini moons in particular, because this moon is going to be lunar return, but any placement you have, my God. And you know what, even if there is some sort of natural disaster, I haven't checked the charts for that. I know astrologers are looking, because we know it's designed, but we don't bother to look sometimes, but we might see my prediction, water expands upon cooling, we might see 22nd degree on charts of natural disasters, which you understand it's not 11th degree, which is electricity or unusual weather. It is intentional killing. Milton. I haven't checked the chart. So, but all my last phase of Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn placements, okay, beware, because this is especially ascendants, okay, that is quite, if you have a 22 something there, beware. Don't schedule for anything. Somebody schedules for you something. This is not a good time. Not a good time at all for the lunation, for the full moon. You need to check that in your area. I'm not saying it's going to be successful, but we might have some people flying off the handle, you know, with the green Adidas and stuff. So, okay. Karen's still going to be 21 degree, but for those of you that carry the stamp of the 22, then yeah, I would be cautious. For people in general, I would, you know, stay away from, like, even meat restaurants. It's not like I'm not vegan, but it's kind of, because moon is in Aries, and Aries is like meat and stuff like that, you know, the spicy food or meat or these, you know, the sloppy joes and stuff like that. And Cancer is restaurants. But opposing Pluto, them, like, it's given the McDonald's in the Kremlin type of vibe. So I'm not sure like what to say about this. And we had actually a bombing in McDonald's, bombing or shooting in Beersheba city. With Marses in restaurants, okay? So, but Pluto is, and this central station was in the central station. The central station is next to the building of the train, which is actually a tall building. Because supposing Pluto in Capricorn is a tall building, because it's not a skyscraper, because it's Beersheba, and the next to the mall, which is also a very tall building. Not very tall, but it's so restaurants adjacent to tall buildings. I can't believe, the weird emotions that running through my mind right now, because around when I was, a teenager, then it's not a sob story, because like I'm on the Israel part of Palestine, but there were, the bombings. And so they would be in restaurants and central stations. No, don't interfere. And so on. Mars in Cancer, I'm cutting my mom out. On a Mars night, there would be these things, and then people would think, oh, when, this and that. And now I'm like, I'm an astrologer, catching myself in a moment where I'm actually tending to delineation of where could be bombing attacks. And this is specifically giving me restaurants next to the sea as well. Sea, but it's sea, it's not like ocean, it's Cancer. Especially if it's like meat restaurants, and especially restaurants. You think about like where they charge the taxes. I had Rashut HaMisim. It's where they charge the taxes. There's usually in every city they have like with banks and with where the courts are and so on. If there are meat restaurants, then avoid this place. If you have a hearing around taxes and so on and so forth, you might want to skip that. Okay? That's the time where I would call in sick. But can also be hospitals, because the tall building can be hospitals, so restaurant in hospital. So wherever is tall building, that is of a municipality or something that is governmental. If it has a restaurant either in front of it, meat restaurant, I would avoid around the lunation. I would avoid for such place. And it can be shooting or stabbing. What else can be there? Conflicts around housing, domestic stuff. Okay? This is wherefore you want to let go. Don't push people to corners. Okay? This is important. Don't push people to corners. But you must make sure in spirit and in matter, don't push people to corners. Okay, because people if you might do something in spirit, in energy, might invade energy, and this person might hunt you down. Okay? If you're sitting in a restaurant at work and this and so on and so forth, and you bug this person in energy, and they said, fuck it, stop with trying to rape me, stop with this, stop with that. You cannot say this because nobody understands what you're talking about, but you want to kill it. Okay? This would be a correct time to people to let go, stop attacking people. Energy, this or that, stop attacking people. If you know you sent something, I'm not talking about return to sender, if you know you sent something to person, that would be the time to stop, because they might find you with the physical and kaput. Because they say, I don't have access to that with dignity, nobody understands what I'm talking, it's only imprisonment here, imprisonment there. You push people to such corner, they will hunt you down and they will know who you are. Or they think, I'm going to just be, if in extreme cases, where like, like mass shooting and stuff like that, they might think they're just, fuck it, I'm going to kill all people around me and commit suicide, and you're one of these people. And you will be. Okay? This is because of the reception between Mars and the Moon. So this is where I would say definitely not for Mars, is particularly with sexuality or this, or this particularly things you don't want to do. Because person can be helpless, boom. And now you have to take into account that they may try, they might not succeed. Okay? It's not so competent in doing things, it's with the people. This is where, again, I would stay the F out of these things. And also there's the tendency to flip things around. Pluto, I don't know if Pluto is direct or retrograde still. I think it's going to be direct already. But there is a reflective quality to the moon. Okay? There's a reflective quality to the moon. And sometimes the people might themselves not understand for these things. It's like, really, if you are in any way attacking someone in energy, in astral, definitely in physical, yes, but in energy, astral, who try to send this, try to send that, they can remember that this, if you have any access to your own brain, then this would be good time for, before this lunation, to seize it, but for good. Otherwise, this is one giant scheme of events where that person might get unexpected help from people that you thought were with you. Okay? And that's something to remember. If you, especially if you tried, let's say, okay, let's say you tried to marginalize the person, to make of them, to isolate them, to make of them lonely, to make of them this, to make of them that. Remember that in this place of isolation, there's also miraculous healing. There's souls that they communicate with. There's many things that they communicate with that they may not rely on, but some miraculous course of events can change. So, yes, I remember Ronald Bernard. So Ronald Bernard was escaping the cult because he was a child that was abused by church, and then he went to satanic cult and become banker and so on. He was kidnapped, I think, from welfare. Yes, he was kidnapped from welfare because the mother agreed, because she was afraid that his father would murder her and him and commit suicide. So he was kidnapped from welfare. He was taken from welfare. And then he, becomes banker, works in the cult. They do all kinds of rituals, and they do all kinds of the top bankers. They do crime. So he says he doesn't want to do it anymore, and he has to be tortured. He didn't sign with blood, so he had to be tortured. And the reason he stopped is because they wanted to do stuff to children that he was supposed to partake in. He says, I cannot with children. I went to this, I cannot. But before that, he tried to kill himself. And in near that experience, he sees birthing. Because indeed, these cults are hermaphrodite cults. If you listen to Trudy Verstegen, there's nothing wrong with two genders, but the thing is that they are interfering since the birthing to make trauma for the infants, and then to rape the infants and make more trauma for the infants. And this is moon, so moon can be manifesting. And if you don't know this, then you might, think about the parent. They are trying to accommodate for the needs of the moon, but they don't always know the moon. And sometimes, even when you know the moon, it takes special effort to attune to that moon. And when you have this traumatic moon, then the moon is a manifesting body, okay? So that can perpetuate the trauma. And what Ronald Bernard saw basically in the near-death experience was experience of birthing, and positive experience of birthing. And for him, he was not growing into the cult so much. So it means that his mom, she said to him she could love him, because it was after, I think, the war or something like that. And I don't know what the story with the father, but with the son, she could love the son. And then the father was abusive to the son and abusive to her, because he felt, of course, isolated, marginalized, and so on. But he acted it out. And if he would go to therapy, we know that they would cause him to Bassa van de Kolk, to take his rage on his wife and the child. That's the healing modalities. Even though housing first and open dialogue practice was developed in Netherlands, housing first in the United States, but only practiced in Finland, and successfully cured schizophrenia without pills. So this is story for how in a moment where one could even, unalive themselves and have near-death experience, and then for that curation of the entire problem, which is coming from the birth, from the origin of this, and then they come back and they're like, why am I alive? I've been saying that for way too many times in the past months. Why am I alive? And then he became whistleblower. And now you can watch Ronald Bernard on YouTube. He is having a huge project to assist children and to be inclusive, and many, many interesting things also with currency. So I think, yes. And he's been silenced a lot, but you want to watch this channel, you want to go for this channel. But definitely, if anybody been sending malefic stuff, that would be the time to stop, okay? That's it, okay? So, this is definitely something to consider, because that Mars. But it's also important for me, when I see this lunation and I see what it entails, I'm like, okay, it's very likely that, let's say, what happened with my apartment, how it exploded and how it is, it's not a good thing, but it's not like I didn't see that the omens were, so I was talking about on the channel as well, the omens were summoning. They really love the place, but they are, it's an inch from Jordan. And perhaps it means that on that lunation or towards that lunation I should be thinking about for other places. For other places. But it's also important that if that was not coming from this, what is the excess? Okay, if you think about excess, for example, there is crisis and then there is excess for what somebody tries to not to get over this, to get over this, to get over, to hunt person down or stuff like that. That can be really, really problematic. And I guess there are going to be a lot of people dealing with this, the conflicts, and everybody's going to be triggered. So just letting go and laughing about it might be an issue. Yes, we remember fate still has a role in it, and malefic magic has the tendency to backfire. Okay. And benefic magic has its own like caveats or something like that. So taking action about something is, or tending to something is also important. And we remember that in such situation, the chaos is like it's orchestrated for things to be chaotic, and usually there is an attempt to under the masquerade to throw chaos and have things under control in the background. The ability to have things under control in the background when you throw that chaos is going to be very limited. Okay, so there's difference between throwing that chaos because you just want to release yourself from situation with this Uranus. Okay, you want to move energy around and you're ready to transform. Okay, for example, when I put Achillea on my wisdom teeth, I was ready to transform and said I want to move energy around. They didn't know that the stuck energy is the real estate market. You definitely move some energy around, and the children stuck in the caves. But I was ready to transform, so I was ready to accept the fact that I'm going to learn information and I'm going to respond accordingly. I'm going to allow things to take their course because I basically consented to break free from limitations. Okay? I took action for where to put the killer, to curate, to move energy, to move stagnant energy. So even though it's chaotic, I can, and I don't know if I will survive this and so on, but I knew that I need to give chance for me for life. And to say, oh, this one thing I can tend to, let's tend to that. So, the next step for those who are worried is tea tree. So you want to read about tea tree oil. It's not for the fungal properties, which is interesting, antifungal properties. But I found out I have one nail that is a bit lifting up. Thought it's a toenail fungi, but it's not. I'm healthier than I thought. And sicker than other things. Why you waste your money on medical pedicure? Why not food? Because I haven't had that one in a while, and I anyway don't have enough money for food for enough time. But if I take an unusual step to move energy around, maybe things will unravel, like the fact that we might have a banking collapse, currency change, violence around houses. And maybe it's good not to sleep at that place that is 2 centimeters from Jordan for a while. And it's not like the world beings in my energy trying to tell me where I live. And I'm like, but I've been there when I was in Gemini. And I was 6 months homeless. So, at any case, one thing I would not fight about one thing I would not fight about, and the whole thing began by the fact that I had to stay at the airport and I was hungry and I knew I would not have enough money to cover the check. And then it was after the kilea, after everything, after I was enraged. That's why I went to the airport to retreat. And then I said, I'm buying for the meal. It was 73 shekels for 1973. I said, I'm buying that meal. And I was like, fuck it. So that was kind of like the step, the decision to break free. But essentially, that was the deal. And it's and this is truly a situation. Okay, some things you can work with talismans, and some things we have a lunation on, where eclipses, the Aries eclipse was around 7th October. Again, I'm not saying it's gonna start the war or start like invasion or this or that. I know there are people talking about this end of October thingy, cautious, worried, that the safest place would be in shelters and so on. And I guess I'm a little bit less mad on certain entities right now when I think about this. They're like, can't you see? Can't you see? Like, no, I don't know, because you're tired. In situations like this, you're so exhausted. And and then everybody say everything that's on their mind in these situations. But one thing I would say to you, one thing I would not fight about is money. I would tell you also as well, can be something to do with houses, because again, think about Milton. Some person can try to mix with your energy, so and so and so, but why would spirit allow? Okay, sometimes it's for you to learn to defend yourself, sometimes for you to speak up, but sometimes it's that and that and that and Milton. So if there is a being in your energy, they were like, Okay, why is this person running to my being? Why is this person running to my being? Oh, because they're running away from, who are they running away from? Their psychologist? What's his name? What's his name again? What'd you say that name? Okay. And then there's another one says, fuck it. So this is exactly I had energy of my psychologist telling me you're psycho, and I'm like, yeah, my psychologist is psycho. I'm like, you're psycho. Well, in that case, the best solution for schizophrenia is housing first and belief in the patient. It's like, yes, but Milton. Well, I have to be psycho then. So that is where it's going, okay? And it's like, I wouldn't try to control chaos. With chaos, you can be the eye in the storm, but if you try to control chaos, in the sense you try to throw chaos into somebody's life, in a sense that how should I say it, malefic, okay? Not for defending your rights, defending your this, defending your that. Let's say you're a psychologist and that's your patient. Your patient done nothing to you, okay? Like they're your patient. And you try to throw chaos in them. Okay, what do you think? What you think is gonna happen? What did you think was going to happen with that? But also, if you have if you are healing your teeth at this time, then this is a point where if anybody was sending chaos your way, you gotta like, well, you were just busy sending the chaos, allowing chaos to release from your own self. This is the state of affairs right now in the sky. I allow myself to talk about it and talk about it and talk about it because it's an eclipse that we want to release for as much as we can of the tensed energy in humor, not in like malefic ways and so on. And because it's not, nobody's in a situation where we can tell them, well, relax, chill. But everybody's right. And yet justice, with justice alone, will not bring the kidnapped back. And Procyon sweetening something. Thinking about my honey dripping on my phone. The honey I bought for the B6 time. Genuine honey for fully confused. That was genuine, honey. So my phone survived it. If you want to what Procyon does, it denucleafies the area. I cannot make it up. So, yeah, I mean, and remind you that we are still in the shade of the liliest eclipses of eclipses. So, essentially, we have this is a moment where you can say, okay, even the people that planned the World War have no idea what's coming. So what do we know? But definitely it would be time where, in the best of cases, we could all laugh at our fears a little bit. Hopefully you're not living like around Milton. So it does require for people to surrender a lot of attempts to control the circumstances, but you have to remember that attempts to control, they come from exhaustion. People are controlling when they are exhausted. And so, and the bisextile is perfecting. It's slowly building in to 2026. It is perfecting as we speak. So the fact that Mars is opposing Pluto, Mars is also applying to trine Neptune. Okay? And is also applying to sextile Uranus. Essentially, how is even a harmonic aspect of Mars and Uranus benefic for the world? I'm not saying it's benefic for the world, but it's benefic for Mars and Uranus. Define the world, like the trees, the last forest after Chernobyl. But you gotta take care of the margins. So there's definitely going to be some really unusual actions. And that can be storytelling. That can be, with Mars can be name calling. Oh my God, there was this satire. There's this Israeli satire. I don't remember which one. I think it was Zeuze. And there were everybody calling everybody Hitler. Because Mars is names and 22nd degrees killer. And everybody was saying like, I'm Hitler! You are Hitler! We might have a moment like that now. Hopefully it will be satirical. I mean, in a satire. 2017, I wrote a satire about the cult, but I was so... I was just trying to get the MK Ultra out of my body. But I didn't know. And, I was an X-File with the PH. But I watched the standalones. I wrote my first screenplays that I wrote. I was like fanfics for the episodes, but I watched the standalones. Everybody's MK Ultra until I see the writing on the walls, Ultra South, MK Ultra South, and I'm like, wasn't that something with something? Then I look it up and I'm like, oh, that's what I've been doing. Oh wait, I actually wrote about it in 2000. That explains a lot of what has been happening in the past. What? 8 years? 7 years? Okay. Like when Yitzhak Rabin was singing a song for peace with the entire country bombing, and he was not wearing this, like, what's this thing that you wear so it protects you from, like, the bullets. He knew he was doing that. I didn't. And my parent is a writer. They wrote about the bombing at the roundabout, but it was not translated. And the funny thing is, they were thinking that it's only because for their book. Not what happened to me, what happened to them. But I think I was at the airport when I was buying a Heineken and 2 sneakers, saying it needed change from the core. So that's been playing out. And you're like, but one thing I can say, when I was in Netherlands, I had this mood where I don't know, just let go of everything. Maybe you'll die, you'll not die, but it was big suffering every day. And I'm like, I'm sick of it. But I don't have COVID. So yeah, accommodated by the WHO. Okay. So this is, people are going to be exposed to a lot of intricacies, to say the least. By the time 7 October happened, it was horrid, beyond horrid. Because you understand, it includes for the MK Ultra stuff. And then it's this also the point where if people try to, like, assassinate you, you're like, maybe they're correct, maybe I should die. It is very weird. Like, why am I alive? And you don't know if they're doing this. They're like, okay. And then when you think about them, you say, okay, maybe they're doing this so that I will murder them because they're afraid to do it themselves to themselves. Like, maybe that's the rational thing to do. So, and I live in the Israeli part of So yes, um, and oh, oh, I did say it out loud with the yeah. So I guess everybody's really, really exhausted, and that's for many people that's the point. But the thing is that those who try to make us exhausted are already exhausted of making people exhausted. And this is where they try to replace, in the Second World War, they had the ceasefires, so they would play soccer, and then they would shoot in the air, so they would try to replace they try to replace the players, okay? But then if you actually meet the person, you like think about, that's a frontier. That's a frontier. Okay? Everybody has their own frontiers, but that's another form of the frontier. For some people it's like, yeah, you meet yourself, of course you meet yourself. And for some people it's like, you allow yourself to be transformed by the situation. And it's very exhausting, but it's also to keep the war going, they really have to invest a lot of energy to try to replace the people. But the people are leaders, and leaders are people. And we have some leaders with placements on the most remedifying, as weird as it can seem. You say that whatever you're gonna hear, that is for the most accommodating, remedifying, until they say fuck it. But even then and this is a situation where you begin to understand that there's certain types of things where you have to go, from one place, another place, another place, another place, and then we say, well, I'm exhausted. This is where people become controlling. And they try to get the people to become controlling. Because for most people, they're not born so controlling. They're born playful, but not controlling. And that is a situation where even the people that do that, when there's an actual thing going on, like right now in the world, the people who do that, they how should I say it? If you become controlling, but you cannot stay controlling for a long time, because you become rigid. Or you become like the water, you become flexible. Because the Eurekas with the bisextile, they arrive at you, and first of all, you can't stay angry for long. Especially if you think, they said this or they did this, this is going to... Okay? You take the energy out, and then there is... yes, something else happens. And when you cannot communicate, then it's going to send you off on another place. Maybe you're going to do something creative, maybe and if you can't create in the same way, you're gonna... something else comes in. The B6 style allows this, because if something is in hard aspect with something, is an easy aspect with the other things. So even this Mars is applying to oppose Pluto upon the lunation, is applying to square Aries and the moon, which is emotionally disturbing, but it's trining Neptune and it's sextiling Uranus. Okay, that is where you want to kind of keep in mind that there is an outlet that is not completely destructive, but again, it's a combination of those, I guess. Definitely such skies release us from dogmas that we have about human behavior, human nature, and we meant to do that. Nature of the army people, nature of our leaders, nature of plutocracy, nature of control. Okay, when we say the control, so both the people in control, the losing control, and the people that trying to regain control, they tend to the nature, okay, of control. But it's also so for people that have been in situations where there were rules for like power exchange. Okay? Then somebody comes and they don't understand the situation and they just beat themselves. So how are they interpreted? How they see? They have to remove all the dogmas, because for this person they don't play by the rules, but not because they're necessarily rebellious, but because they don't understand the rules. It's like, hey, you guys are having this power exchange game, and that person doesn't know what it is, and then doesn't like it. Okay? So, and not only that, they very much care about the yes, no, and maybe. So a lot of the preconceptions that we had, we're gonna have to remove them. And then how do we look at things? Now at the full moon, something is going to be exposed, that certain people that you thought are not at all outcasts are outcasts, or if you thought you're not at all outcast, you might discover you are. Okay? And the tipping of the scales is towards, let's say, that which can eloquently express themselves at, let's say, court or something like that, is sitting in one side of the sky, where the moon is the leaders, by the way. Where the moon is the people, they are at the Andromeda, so they have to turn to Andromeda as well. You have to turn to both, but or you might find that judge you've been afraid of, well, they're actually gracious in this situation, because they're not in the situation where they have to do what they have to do to keep for this job or to keep alive. So you might find that they have more grace than you thought. Okay. Or that there is opposition between the people are marginalized, and for the leaders of Supreme Court, leaders of anything Libra, but also people that are like stylists or models, the type of women judges or stuff like that. There is kind of, yes, the tipping of the scale, and but there's also a point where there can be reconciliation. We just have to make sure that you're not going to have the little Mars there playing out as actual shooting, actual violence, actual stabbing, but perhaps as a story, perhaps as a movie, perhaps as a painting. Okay, hopefully will not be misinterpreted. But this is something that plays a crucial role, because if there is lethality, it's very likely you find out you barked on the wrong tree, but that tree could be dead. Okay. This is where I say, for the other thing, that you jumped the gun. Okay, you thought you're just gonna play someone for entertainment, and that someone has been a tickling bomb for 3 decades in 2017, for almost 4 decades, or 3.5 decades 2017, 4 decades 2024. And you thought you're just gonna play them for entertainment. Okay, so this is something, yes, to keep in mind. This is something to keep in mind. Because if the tensions better, but what's supporting is the fact that Mars is still applying to trine Neptune and sextile Uranus. So there's a good potential for, not saying reconciliation, but for sweetening of conflict. Still, there is a direct confrontation. In this point, it can be lethal. So and grand alchemy in disguise. Grand alchemy in disguise. For in this situation or in those situations. When it comes to fears, people may have a reduced fears of confrontation at this time, not because they're not afraid, but because it's been, the straw that broke the camel's back. And everybody, they have it around their own thing. So this is where the people that they weren't the type to say, let them pay for this, they say, what am I going to get me? A burger, some goji berries, cheese. Let them pay for this. And the other person say, I'm not paying 1 more cent for any of these tenants that cannot pay, that cannot this. I also have a life. And my marginal profit is not too big. Okay? So this is where, and I want that such things can happen. So this is where we no longer can with the other situation, but we already don't know exactly where to go. Like we have to break through, we don't know where to go, so people have reduced fear of death in the situations. Okay? Because the moves are so that they have to break through for their constraints. And so and the usual thing that helps for this is space. Mars is going to create space. Mars is going to create space in the situation. And there can be a sweetening around this. Okay? But I have to tell you, it's not a situation where you can say, oh, one person says, or you think you were angry and in time of anger you said so and so and so and so and so, and then something like that almost happened, and then you say, oh, thank God it didn't happen. But this such times where you could find yourself as saying, you know what, I understand why I said this. I understand why I said this. Because situation must change. Good that it didn't happen, it gave us leverage, but the situation must change. Okay? And so just as people want to break through, break away from violence, they are also less accommodating. Because they understand they cannot oppress themselves. And situation must find solution that's actually sustainable. That with dignity at this time becomes an option. Okay? If you think for the situation where you say, give me death or give me a life that I can joyously live. Break through. And this is exactly what we need to do, because We need to break in, whether it's the caves that the satanic ritual abuse is taking place in. So think about this, everyone, the children, the infants, everyone in jails, in hospitals, everyone. What you don't want to do is for people to stay in a situation where they feel trapped. Anybody feels trapped by a situation, they break free, but this time something must change from the core, so is safe and free. Good life. All the abusive, life is a gift, then there is the person that they have that life, then there is the this, then there is the that, or you would be that. All of this abuse, not going to go. All the people that thought, well, you think you are hungry? See that person that is, now experience what they're like. I was okay with that back then. You had better made that with dignity accessible to me back then. Now I had been through something, you add on this more abuse. And many people have this sentiment. Many people have this sentiment. You can't gaslight anymore. Mars is going to confront all the gaslighting. It's going to make, definitely it's going to take action to assert itself. So it's a process that has been happening since the eclipses before 7th October. Not this 7th October, 2023 7th October. Okay? So you think about what people have been going through, how they've been transformed, and how courageous they become. Exhausted, but the exhaustion adds to the courage. And so, you're the push to situation, have nothing to lose. The act like person that cannot be what? Controlled. They become ungovernable, if you haven't caught that. Which was the goal of this event.